teacher, I'm Ngọc from Group 4. In today's presentation, we are going to cover Chapter 9, Learning, Memory, and Product Positioning. Here is our group members. Moving to our group agenda for this chapter, there are 5 learning outcomes that we will cover. That is, describe the nature of learning and memories, explain the types of memory and memories role in learning, distinguish the different processes underlying high and low involvement learning, summarize the factors affecting information retrieval from memories, understand the application of learning to brand positioning, equity, and leverage. So moving to the first learning outcome, that is nature of learning and memories. So learning is vital to consumption process since it is where people acquire the maturity of their attitudes, values, tastes, behavior, preferences, symbolic meanings, and feelings. Learning is defined as any change in the content or organization of long-term memory or behavior caused by organization processing. The following part is memory role in learning. Memories refer to the whole accumulation of earlier learning experiences. It is consist of two interrelated components. It is short-term and long-term memory. First, I will explain the short-term memories. Short-term memories is the percentage of the total memories that is not active or in use. Short-term and it is active, dynamic process and not a static structure. It has some special traits like it is short-lived, which means that consumer must constantly refresh information through maintenance reusal or it will be lost. The second one is short-term memory has limited capacity. It means that short-term memory capacity is a range of 5 to 9 bits of information in current memories. There is an interesting term in this part. It is chunking, refer to the process of taking individual pieces of information and group them into larger units so you can improve the amount of information you can remember. So, based on this, marketer can assist consumer in chunking product knowledge by grouping detailed attribute information in message that's focused on the more general benefits that they can create. The last one is elaborative activity occur in short-term memory. The use of previously stored experience, values, attitudes, beliefs, and feelings to interpret and evaluate information in working memories, as well as to add related previously stored information are examples of elaborative processes. It involves both concepts and imagery, and it has to be worked together to make sure it will make consumer remember. So, for example, you may not be remember or put a boarding S in imagery processing like this when you surfing the phone, and there is just a very small possibility that you would buy that brand. And the next part is long-term memory will be presented by Tin.
So hi, I am Tin and thanks for introduce me. So the system is that allow us to retain the information for a long period of time. So the information passes from the short-term memory into the long-term memory via the process of the elaborative rehearsal. This means that we actively think about chunk, meaning, and relate it to all the information and already in the memory. So advertisers sometimes assist in the process when they decide the catchy slogan, a jingle that consumers repeat on their own and retain in their long-term memory. It's just like that. We got like a schema, like pop concept, and episode acquire deep meaning by become associated with the concept and episode. And the script is like the memory how an action sequence should occur. So here's how the schema work is like many steps, and like the bigger consume the smaller. And here's we got the retrieve from the long-term memory, that explicit memory and the implicit memory, and Wunan will take the next part.
Thank you so much for your fantastic presentation, Pam. Now I would like to distinguish the process behind high and low involvement learning, and Luan will go over the rest of this learning objective afterward. When a person is motivated to learn, he or she engages in high involvement learning, watching lipstick swatch videos on YouTube for purchase for example, may be considered high involvement learning. Individuals who learn in a high involvement context are motivated to learn that knowledge and actively find information to discover more about this aspect. Low involvement learning, on the other hand, occurs when an individual pays only limited or indirect attention to an advertisement or other communication. Low involvement learning is sometimes limited due to a lack of elaborative tasks. For example, a person is surfing on TikTok and comes across a video of Starbucks Valentine Cup collection. The majority of people learn in a low involvement situation by surfing the internet or using social media. Learning can also be categorized as conditioned or cognitive. Conditioning is perhaps best described as a series or strategies that marketers can employ to raise a likelihood of forming or learning association between two stimuli. Classical and operant conditioning are two types of conditioned learning. Classical conditioning refers to seek to establish an association between a stimulus and a response. When a person has little or no knowledge about stimuli, classical conditioning is widely applied in low involvement learning circumstances. Marketers can leverage a proven association between one stimulus, such as PT at music, and reactions excitement to teach the same response to another stimulus, such as Puma sneakers. On the other hand, the goal of operant conditioning is to establish a link between response and an outcome that will reinforce the response. Consumers must first engage in deliberate behavior to comprehend its potential in forecasting favorable results that serve a reinforcement. In high involvement learning circumstances, operant conditioned is widely applied. Innisfree, for example, provides free skincare samples to consumers who purchased their product. Cognitive learning, which includes the mental activity of humans as they attempt to solve issues, cope with complex situations, or function efficiently in their surroundings, is another component of learning. Cognitive learning theory include iconic rote learning, which is usually low engagement. In this situation, consumers learn the concept without conditioning. Vicarious learning or modeling can be low or high involvement. Consumers can alter their own behavior from observing other people. Similarly, they can utilize imagery to predict the result of certain actions. And finally, analytical reasoning are generally high involvement. Consumers use creative thinking to combine old and new information to create new relationships and concepts. That is the end of my part. In the next section, let's introduce Luong to the stage.
So thanks to Winan about her presentation in cognitive learning. Now I'm going to continue about learning to generalize and differentiate. First, we'll find out about stimulus discrimination, or we also known as stimulus differentiation. Stimulus discrimination or differentiation refers to the process of learning to respond differently to similar but distinct stimuli. And also, why is it so important? As we find out here, stimulus differentiation make firms unique. It differentiates brands from a variety of brands. And also, it helps marketers to deal with scandal erupt as well. Likewise, stimulus discrimination, we have stimulus generalization. Stimulus generalization can be referred to as rub-off effect, which occurs when a response to one stimuli is elicited by similar but distinct stimulus. This can be simply reasoned or exampled by Oreo brand. As we all know that personally, I love Oreo, and once I tried the original flavor of Oreo and enjoy it, I will assume that the upcoming flavor or upcoming product of Oreo will be good and will adopt a tendency to buy it. Same things happens with a variety of brands like Orion or Nike, Adidas as well. So to sum up learning objective 3, we have here a table about learning theories. We can see here there are 5 specific learning theories: classical conditioning, operant conditioning, iconic role learning, various learning modeling, and analytical reasoning. Each of these learning theories can be operated in high or low investment situation, and as you can see here with the examples. And that's the end of my presentation for Learning Objective 3. Coming up next, Luân will present about learning memory and retrieval.
Hello, teacher. My name is Vịnh Luân, and after my friend Lương has talked about learning to generalize and differentiate, I will continue that with learning objective 4 about learning, memory, and retrieval. And my part is about the strength of learning with the first 5 factors: importances, message involvement, mood, reinforcement, and repetition. So let us moving to the first one about importances. It refers to the values that consumers place on the information they are about to discover, and it might be motivated by an intrinsic interest in the product or brand, or by pressing the need to make decisions in the near future. An example of the importances is that the way marketers use to test how bilingual consumers process and recall to the second language advertisement. As you can see here in the slide, there are 2 advertisements, one in English and another in Vietnamese. So for Vietnamese people, it is easy for them to recall more for the second ones, but this doesn't mean that the second language advertisement will never be effective. It depends on the importances. If the importances is high, bilingual consumers will put more effort to understand the art, leading to greater learning and recall. And the second part is about the message involvement. It could say that when a consumer is not motivated to learn, processing can be pushed by involve the consumer in the message itself. For instance, when it comes to the art of Điện Máy Xanh with the instrumental sound and the image, consumers are easily to sing along with the lyrics and remember the advertisement in their mind. This makes them involved deeply with the message. Another thing we need to notice about the message involvement is that it has 3 issues. The first one is that the skin may be important to memory, and the second one is about the roles of suspenses, which sometimes can reduce consumer memory of the brand name if they have to wait so long. And the last regard to the self-referencing storages, which can highlight a brand personal relevances to consumers. And the next part is about mood. Research indicates that a positive mood can improve learning and relational elaboration. This has suggested marketers the types of programs they need to do to encourage consumers to learn more. And then about reinforcement, it has a great impact on the speed that learning occurs and its effect duration. For this, a positive reinforcement is a pleasant or desirable consequences. For example, consumers need to buy anti-aging products and they saw the ads of Estee Lauder and decide to try it and they find it useful and select it for the next time. About the negative reinforcement, it can strengthen a behavior by avoid or remove negative outcomes, as you can see clearly in the second picture about the negative effect if you don't use sunscreen when going to the beach. Last of my part is the repetition. It increases learning and memory by improving the accessibility of information and the associated links between the concepts. As you can see from the figure 9.8, it is easy to that high repetition works greatly than low, and the gains in recall are more effectively for long campaign runs and lower awareness brand, but we need to use storages appropriately to save our budgets and effort, as when advertising stop, rapid forgetting will be occur. And that's also the end of my presentation. Thanks for listening, and the next part will be of my friend Sue.
Hi teacher, my name is Sun and thank you so much for doing part of learning objective 4. And now I would like to continue to talk about the next 3 parts of geocoding, memory interference, and response environment. So first of all is geocoding. Consumer can store information in different ways. Storing the same information in different ways results in more internal pathways for retrieving information. This in turn can increase learning and memory. So as you can see the example above. below. Dual coding relates to information being stored in different memory modes, so verbal versus visual. Dual coding helps explain why imagery. And next is memory interference. Sometimes consumers have difficulty retrieving a specific piece of information because other related information in memory gets in the way. This effect is referred to as memory interference. A common form of interference in marketing is due to competitive advertising. You can see the reign of Canada Dry and Ginger Ale might interfere with your memory of Mountain Dew. Competitive advertising makes it harder for consumers to recall any given advertisement and its contents. And next, I would like to talk about response environment. Retrieval is also affected by the similarity of the retrieval environment to the original learning environment and type of learning. Thus, the more the retrieval situation of first cue similar to the cues received during learning, the more likely effective retrieval to occur. So, the GovMU, for example, and Live Zero example, discussed earlier present attempts by marketers to match the in-store retrieval environment to the learning environment by providing retrieval cues. Now, here we'll talk about the learning objective 5. Thank you.
So hello teacher, I'm here now. I will represent about learning object 5 of the chapter 9 about the brand image and product positioning. The schematic memories of a brand is referred to as its brand image, and the brand image including the target market perception of a product, feature, advantage, usage, scenario, user, and manufacturer, marketer characteristic. Um, is the collection of connection with customer have learned about a brand that they heard or see it names and what they think and feel when they heard or see it. A marketer decision to try to achieve a defined brand image relative to the competition within a market segment and known as a product positioning. Marketers decide that they want members of a market segment to think and feel a certain way about a brand in a comparison to competing brands is known as a market segment positioning, and is used to make a brand a relative choice, and is the term that refers to the same judgment made by a retailer's business and product categories. And the next part is that perceptual mapping offer an effective method of for monitoring and developing product positioning for marketing managers and measure how similar different brands are for good or to one another and correlate that this impression with product feature. And the next part will represent.
Hello everyone, my name is Nguyen Nam Theo Hing, and I am going to continue our presentation with the next part, the product repositioning. Repositioning equals change, and in this specific situation, product repositioning means the changes in how the market views the product. Product repositioning requires consumers to unlearn and adapt to the new image. Therefore, it might be difficult and risky to achieve product repositioning. One important asset of a firm is the brand equity, which is the value assigned to a brand. This value is far beyond the product. It is based on the brand's product position, and the word equity itself implies the economic values. How does brand equity brings economical values to the firms anyway? Well, there are two ways that it can do that. The first is the behaviors towards existing products under the same brand name, which creates positive brand image. And the second source is consumers will associate good aspects of existing products to new ones under the same brand names. And this gives way to brand leverage, which is using an existing brand names for new products. In order for brand leverage to be successful, the product must possess a strong positive image and it must fit with the original products in four dimensions: complement, substitute, transfer, and image. A great example is Canon. Originally focused on cameras, Canon developed and gained success with printers. Canon's reputation for good technology gives way to the take-off of their printers. However, brand extensions might become failures. As mentioned, new products' image should match that of existing products. In this case, new brand names should be made. To illustrate, Sony created Vaio for laptops, Bravia for TVs, Handycam for cameras, etc. Brand extension does bear risk. Cosmopolitan, a famous magazine, failed when established its own yogurt because this product bears no relation to a fashion and lifestyle magazine. And Colgate experienced brand extension failures too when entering the kitchen. Since Colgate toothpaste is too well known, eating Colgate food feels like eating toothpaste to consumers. Therefore, brand extension decisions should be made with caution. And that is the end of my group's presentation. Thank you for your listening.